Alright guys, this is a video of killer montage. My name's Killer, Faithful Killer, as you can see. And I'm going to show you how to rank up quick on hardcore headquarters or hardcore agents. That's if you've got the map bats. If this will load, it needs to be taken into a game. Right guys, as you can see, I've just been tucked into a game. This is the point where I'll show you how to rank up. UMP45, you want that, so I'll just say if you have it. And I'm just going to wait for the hardcore set to destroy. La 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 la. I will never be afraid again. As you can see, this guy's name is Super Dan, that's his name, and he will show you how to rank up quick as well. He seems like a good one. And there you can see there's campers all over. You want to watch out for campers. Okay, YouTube, let's get showing you a video. Come on YouTube, guys, this is the video for YouTube. If you want to be on the video, follow me. As you can see, I've just been killed by a claymore. Okay, then YouTube, that's one of the videos done.